What's up guys, it's Tony here and welcome back to Man Cave Studios for the first storytime video of this season. Today I'm going to be talking about my most difficult semester of school, which in fact is this most recent semester. First of all, before this semester, I considered my second semester when I was a sophomore in high school to be my most difficult semester. I wound up getting a C for the semester in 2 classes. One was biology, the other was geometry, and actually in the last marking period of that year, the 4th marking period, I wound up getting a D in geometry. It was honors geometry, but still. And up until this past semester, I consider that to be my most difficult semester because I struggled. But looking back on it, I could have gotten the help that I needed. I could have gotten tutoring or something, but I just didn't. This past semester, largely, I was on my own. For starters, I had 4 classes, and luckily I didn't have any on Tuesday or Thursday because that was the day that I was doing something else, which I'll explain in a minute. And also, luckily, I didn't have a class on Friday most of the time because the class that I had that was scheduled for Friday most of the time was canceled. Unfortunately, that was because we often had to take these 100 question quiz exam things. And the good thing was those got usually unlocked earlier in the week, but at the same time, if I didn't have time in the week to complete those, I still had to do work on a Friday, and most of the time I still had to do some sort of work on a Friday anyway. On top of which, I had 2 jobs, one of which was my co-op, which was the other thing I was kind of referencing before. That was about 20 hours a week, most weeks. And the other was my ESPN streaming job that I've had since I was a freshman at college, and that's on campus at least, but both of those combined were about 40 hours a week, which is the equivalent of a full-time job, because I often spent about 20 hours a week on each of them. On top of that, I also had sort of an extracurricular. We were recording these videos for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, I think it's called. 3 of those videos were mic'd up segments. Some of the other ones were kind of shorter, but the mic'd up segments were a pain to film and edit, but we got those done, and in fact I got 2 of those done in one day, so good for me, I guess. On top of that, there were several different things this past semester, which I wouldn't really call it facing adversity, but they were things that made it a little bit more difficult to get all these things done. In February, I had my bathroom pretty much completely redone, and in the process, my room was being used as sort of a place for the people that were working on it to store their tools and stuff. So instead of, I guess, sleeping in another bedroom or sleeping downstairs, I decided to just do the smart thing and sleep at my dorm at school. And that's what I did this past semester. The only catch is, because of this co-op, I then had to drive farther to get down to work at the Union Stadium every day. So what is normally a 45-minute commute wound up taking about an hour and 15 minutes on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the span of about 3 to 4 weeks. In March, my dad had back surgery. It wasn't like major back surgery, but he still had back surgery. He couldn't lift anything really. Luckily, he had it over spring break, but it was late in spring break, so for the next 2 weeks, I basically had to be home every night, which made it a little bit difficult. You know, usually after I finish one of the ESPN streams that we do, if it's at night, I just go back to my dorm after, but I had to drive home after that, almost like I have to do over winter break. But, you know, it's late at night. I really don't like driving late at night, but I had to, pretty much. I mean, just to be able to lift stuff and things like that. And, you know, just helping out with things like walking my dog, taking out the trash, you know, basic chores. But it still made it a little bit more difficult to be involved in all these different things, classes, extracurriculars, jobs, you know. And then in April, I won't go too much into it, but I wound up becoming the sort of video producer at my school for a short period of time. That basically was from mid-April through the rest of the semester, or almost the rest of the semester. And over that time, I was basically in charge of producing the ESPN3 and ESPN Plus streams. Luckily, it was baseball and softball, so those are sports that I know. But I basically had to set up for these. I had to spend a little bit more time than usual. In fact, I probably cheated a little bit in going over the amount of hours that I'm allowed to take on my timesheet. I didn't log it because you can't, but so essentially I wound up not getting paid for labor. But, you know, at that point, I was just excited to be a producer. I mean, that's pretty much the career field that I want to go into, so I wasn't really concerned about making money so much as I was getting things done. And while that was going on, I was, spending, I would say, about 25 hours a week producing those games. I was also finishing out my internship with the Philadelphia Union, which was, like I said before, 20 hours a week. So I might have worked in between 45 and 50 hours some of those weeks last month. Now here's a big difference between this semester and that semester I mentioned before, my second semester when I was in high school. That semester, I was stressed. This semester, I was having a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, you guys who have been watching this channel for a while know that I've been a Union fan for a while, so just being able to go to the stadium every day and be a part of something like that, that was incredible. Being able to produce ESPN 3 streams, which is basically the career field that I've always wanted to be in, that was pretty cool. The only thing that really stressed me out was the professor of the class that I mentioned before that usually got canceled on Fridays. He wouldn't release the assignments until, like, the week before the assignments would be due. And so he would be releasing assignments basically on a Sunday night, and one of them would be due on a Monday. And it's not like, an easy thing that you, I guess, click through, fill things out, whatever. Like, these were 600, 700, sometimes up to 1,000-word essays that I basically had to do in a day, on top of the things that I was already doing. How did things turn out in the end? They actually wound up turning out pretty well. I completed the internship, obviously, and I got out of it exactly what I wanted to get out of it. With the Student Athlete Advisory Committee videos, I wound up actually not getting as many done as I wanted, but that wasn't a fault of my own. The person who had been setting up the videos earlier in the semester kind of took a step back. I guess she got burned out. And so we didn't really make that many videos at the end of the semester. I successfully produced at least one ESPN 3 broadcast. I mean, mostly I was just kind of the tech guy because I'm the only one that really understood the stuff. So I wound up doing the position of technical director, which is the guy that operates the switchboard and calls the shots, on top of doing graphics at the same time. But I'd already done this during basketball season, so I was already used to kind of the same sort of things. It was just more about producing rundowns and things like that, and I think that the broadcasts actually improved a little bit from where they were before. Not to sound arrogant or anything, I mean, I'm obviously still a college student, but the broadcast did go pretty well, I think. And on top of that, I still somehow got straight A's, and not one of those A's was an A-. I somehow got 4 A's. But now, most importantly, the big question is, was it worth it? Absolutely, it was worth it. I mean, I loved the Union internship. I was sad when that ended. I loved being able to produce streams for ESPN 3 and make my own rundown and things like that. On top of that, I got to do a few fun things, one of which professionally was filming that MAC tournament again in March. And then on top of that, there are just a few other sort of fun things that I did throughout. I mean, I saw Ghost in February at Volbeat, and that was one of the best concerts that I've ever been to, hands down. I wound up seeing Lotus Land again in March, and that was actually the day of a Union road game. So I went from 6 ABC Studios in Philadelphia, where my internship took place for road games, all the way down to Vineland, New Jersey, and then all the way back home to where I live in Burlington County, New Jersey. So that was a lot of driving that day. And funny story, I actually wound up getting there before my dad, who actually drove from where I go to college down to Vineland because they were watching a basketball game up there, which I had to miss the stream for because of my Union internship. So that was a pretty crazy day for everybody in my family. And then in April, I wound up seeing a U.S. Women's National Team match, which actually took place at the stadium that the Union play in. And so that was pretty fun too. So was it worth it? Yeah, it was absolutely worth it. It wasn't stressful, it was just difficult at times. Anyways, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you want another story time video. I'm probably going to make one anyway. I have another one in mind that should be pretty fun. And should probably be shorter too. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out, broskies.